Hello, and welcome to the Uncensored Journey Podcast, a raw, unfiltered guide to truths that matter. We are diving deep, getting real about what it takes to truly transform inside and out. Ready for truth? Ready for transformation? You're in the right spot. I'm Cindy, and with me, as always, is Gabriella. Now, let's get uncensored.
Thank you, Cindy. And today we are also joined by Laurel Van Comb. She's a hypnotherapist and wellbeing coach. She helps clients to navigate major life transitions around money and relationships. You can learn more about her services at livewellwithlaurel.com. And we will put those details in the description of the podcast as well. And you could schedule a free consultation and mention the Uncensored Journey podcast for 50% off of your first visit. You can also find her on Instagram at lovelaurel, love.laurel. Welcome, Laurel. It's so great to have you here, and I'm so excited to talk more about what hypnotherapy is, how it could change lives, and all the amazing wisdom that you have to bestow upon us today.
Thank you, Gabriella. So nice to be here with both of you, see both of your faces.
Tell us, what is hypnosis and how can it help us?
Hypnosis is something that a lot of people have preconceived notions about. There's a lot of misinformation out there about what it really is. Most people have maybe seen a stage hypnotherapist at some point in their life, or they've seen it in TV shows or movies. And so there's this thought that hypnosis is mind control. But really, when we talk about hypnosis or hypnotherapy, we're talking about a natural state that people enter into on a daily basis without even realizing it. Before you go to sleep each night, you enter a natural state of hypnosis. Anyone who does meditation or yoga is familiar with hypnotic states because you're accessing those states naturally when you're doing those types of activities. Also, when you're learning, when you're in a state of deep learning, you're also in a state of hypnosis. So when working with hypnotherapy, what we're doing is you're bypassing the conscious mind and you're speaking directly to the subconscious mind. And you're using that to reprogram these subconscious beliefs that we all hold deeply within us. Actually, children before the age of 8, it's different a little bit with everyone. Sometimes it could be the age of 6, 7, 8, but children are walking around in an almost constant state of hypnosis. And this is really useful to you as a child because you're learning about the world around you. You're learning what's safe, what's not safe, how to act in society, how to take care of yourself. And so being in this state of hypnosis allows you to take in all of this information about your environment and store it deeply within yourself so that you can carry that forward into your life. But when we're working with people in therapy, oftentimes people come into therapy because they have these things that they want to change at a conscious level. But for whatever reason, they're not able to achieve that. There's something that's blocking them. And these are often deep-seated fears or limiting beliefs that have been installed at them at that young age when they were in that state of hypnosis. And so what I do with my clients is I take them back into that hypnotic state and then work with them to reprogram the subconscious to better serve their desires and needs at this point in their life.
It's beautiful. I love it. And I took an intro course to hypnosis, and it's so fascinating how we're constantly actually in a state of trance, like all at the time. And I've experienced hypnosis myself. I did it. I've worked with a coach that incorporated hypnosis, and it really made a difference. It made a huge difference. And yeah, and it's not invasive. It's invasive is not the right term, but it's not, you're not taking medication or anything like that, or altering your chemistry with, and then having side effects. You are definitely altering your chemistry on some level though, and for the better with the right intention. So it's
Yeah, I think what's so empowering about hypnosis is right now there are a lot of people who are like using plant medicines, for instance, to do this kind of work, this kind of therapy or psychedelic therapy, right? And that can be really healing and powerful. But the thing with introducing an outside substance, and I think this is what you're getting at, is you don't always know where it's going to take you. Sometimes it pushes you into your process before you're ready to go there. Whereas in hypnosis and hypnotherapy, you're working with your own mind, right? And you're trusting your own subconscious to only take you to where you're ready to go in that moment. And so it's a much safer therapy. And when you're working with a hypnotherapist, they can't make you do anything that you wouldn't want to do. Your subconscious is still very much in control, and it'll put up a blocker if there's something there that it doesn't want to change, right? That it's not ready to change. So it's very empowering to clients because they're the ones who are in control and they're making changes that they want in their life for their own highest good.
Yes, I agree. A plant medicine is great, and it's for some people. It's not for everyone. And I agree. Hypnosis is a much more gentle, easier path. So speaking about alternative things and past life regression, I've also gone through a few past life regressions through hypnosis, and I found them to be incredible and really cool and so neat to do it without plant medicine. I've done both. And I must say that the hypnosis way, there's no hangover, no no recovery period. Like, it's so fun and it's really neat. Tell us about that. What should people expect when working with you?
I'll start by telling you a little bit about my own experience with past life regression. I think it was about 3.5 years ago. I had my first past life regression, and I really had no idea what to expect from it. And going into it, the therapist, she kept comparing it to ayahuasca because she knew that I had experience with ayahuasca. And she's like, this is like going on an ayahuasca journey. And I kept thinking, like, how can this be the same? I'm not taking some powerful plant medicine. How is it possible that this is going to be comparable to that? But I realized very quickly that it was so similar. The things that I saw and the type of insights that I had and the places that my mind took me to were very similar to what I'd experienced with plant medicine. And that was really exciting to me because I was like, wow, this is a way that we can unlock this within ourselves without having to go through this whole process and this whole ceremony and preparing your body and all of that. So from that experience with her, I realized that was something that I wanted to learn to bring to my clients to help them to unlock clues to who they were. And I started teaching myself how to conduct and lead past life regression journeys. That was my first introduction into hypnosis. To talk a bit about what a past life regression is for anyone who doesn't know, it is basically a hypnotic journey where you're accessing the Akashic records. So you are going into the collective consciousness and you're allowing your subconscious to guide you to, it could be past lives that you've lived, it could be alternate dimensions. I've even had clients who have gone to different planets and communicated with different types of beings. In my own experience, I found myself in alternate realities where I was at my parents' house as I know it in this life, but I knew that I was myself, but I wasn't myself. I was a different, more evolved version of myself. And I could see and feel and experience what that would be like. So I really recommend past life regression journeys for people who want to understand something about themselves that they can't explain, right? Like maybe they have a fear. I have a friend who she had this fear of water that she couldn't explain. She hadn't had any experiences in this life that would rationalize that fear of water. And doing a regression journey, she realized that she had drowned in a past life. And when she had that experience and she could see that, she became a surfer. And now she loves surfing. She loves the ocean. And just having that knowledge for herself has empowered her to change that relationship. It can really, help you to understand your relationships with other people, the roles that you put yourself into, right? Some people always find themselves in a provider or caregiver role to their own detriment. And that might have to do with something that they've experienced somewhere else within soul journey. And just having this understanding or this insight of where that might have come from allows people to break free of that and choose a different path going forward. So it's really cool work. I love getting to guide these journeys because really that's all I'm doing. I'm taking people into a state where they can access this collective knowledge that we all have. We just don't have access to at a conscious level. And then I get to see with them where they've been and where their mind takes them. And it's really beautiful and rewarding work.
That sounds amazing. I've had some experience with past life regression trying, and we've talked about it, but it didn't work for me. So I don't know if it was the practitioner or if it was my mindset. I was pretty open to it. So I was like, I had read a book that I was like all in. I was ready to go. But I was wondering about, because specifically my experience, I tried twice with the same lady, and it didn't work either time for me. And I was like, wah, like it was such a letdown because I was really trying. But I was wondering if you could, how you find a practitioner that knows what they're doing, and then also, do you think that it's like a vibing with each other type of thing, or if it's a skill thing, specifically in like my case, or like just in general?
Yeah.
How do you do, what are your thoughts?
Those are all great questions. I'll address the first question of finding a practitioner first. There are a lot of people out there who are practicing hypnosis who have varied levels of training. It's not a very highly regulated field, unfortunately. So it can be hard to really know how much experience someone has. There are like weekend hypnosis courses that people can take and everything in between, several weeks, several month trainings, year-long trainings. Some people even do 3-year-long trainings. And some people might just study scripts for hypnosis, right? Where they're literally reading a script to you and it's the same every time that they do it with every client. Whereas other people are maybe learning like different types of hypnosis. It could be direct, indirect, Kapusinian, Ericksonian, and they can use those different types of hypnosis to blend them, to work with you, figure out how you best go into hypnosis. I would say that if you're looking to find someone who really knows what they're doing, of course, you want to understand their experience and their training level. Testimonials are always great, although not always accurate. And I would figure out what is their plan for you. So for me, when I'm working with a client, the first session is always just going to be an intro session where I'm running some tests on them. I'm basically testing different types of hypnosis to figure out how this person best goes into hypnosis. Do they respond better to direct hypnosis or indirect? Are they someone who is very much in their mind, or are they more in their body? And these are things that I can figure out in that first session that is going to make every next session that I have with them that much more effective and tailored to them. I would say if you're going to someone and they're like, oh yeah, we can fix your problem in one session, that would immediately be a red flag. There's a chance that you could go into that session and miraculously everything is going to be fixed, and maybe they're just that good or you're just that ready. But that's not always the case. And no one will really know that until they've worked with you. It is a process. It can take time, like any inner work, obviously, but I would be careful of any guarantees like that from someone. And then as far as the effectiveness, like in your experience, Cindy, it could be the connection or the rapport that you have with that person, right? This is a very intimate exploration that you're going through. And so you want to feel comfortable with that person. You want to feel that they're an authority and that they know what they're doing. You want to feel safe with them, feel that you can trust this person. So if you did a consultation with someone and it just doesn't quite feel like a great fit, I would say that you should probably keep looking, because there is going to be someone out there who you better connect with. And that doesn't necessarily mean that this person isn't trustworthy or isn't good at what they do, but maybe they're just not the best fit for you. And a good practitioner will also tune into that and likely refer you to someone else if they feel that it's not a good fit. And then, of course, yeah, it comes down to skill level as well, as I mentioned. So if someone's reading off a script and you can hear them turning the pages, that's probably going to take you out of your process, right? Rather than if you feel like they're really, truly present with you and they're tuning into your needs and they're responding to what you give them to work with. And yeah, anyone who really knows what they're doing will be able to guide you from a place of presence rather than, oh, next I do this, and then I have to do this, and then we're going to do this. So it really is, it is an art, and it's something that comes from so much experience. And you can do good work with less experience, but you can do groundbreaking work with so much more experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm not listening to you now. I realize like I was just painting red flags green along the whole process, because you hit like almost every single thing that she was doing. I could hear the pages turning. I could like, and then when it didn't work the first time, she was like, oh, let me get back to my instructor and see what she recommends. And I'm like, wait, what? I guess I did go into the second one with a little distrust, because I'm like, wait, you didn't know what you were doing the first time? I thank you for those tips. I was wondering if we could now switch a little bit of gears and talk more about how hypnosis can help with stress reduction and sleep and pain and those kinds of things.
Yeah, absolutely. These are big topics for people in this day and age, right? I think we live in a very stressful world where things are moving a million miles a minute, and our poor brains have not quite evolved to keep up with the world that we live in. And this does cause a lot of sleep deprivation, a lot of anxiety for people. So let's talk about that aspect of it first, and then we can go into pain a little bit more. But the biggest thing for like stress reduction and sleep, let's talk a little bit about how hypnosis works at a principle level. So I mentioned to begin with how we have all these things that have been ingrained in our subconscious, not only in our childhood. This is a process that happens throughout our lifetime, right? And the more we experience something, the more it reinforces these like deep programs that run within our subconscious. So we have these experiences in our life, and each time that we undergo a stressful environment, our subconscious mind is looking for, okay, what can I learn from this that's going to help keep me safe going forward? And that creates these stress responses. I know that when this happens to me, I get stressed. And so then we find that in our daily life, we have all these stress responses that are being triggered. And sometimes that's not super beneficial to us, because any situation that we find ourselves in is unique to that particular situation. It isn't the same as all the other seemingly similar situations that we've experienced up until that point. But our mind, trying to make sense of it, says, oh, I know what this is, put up a red flag. avoid, abort, right? Go into fight or flight or whatever it might be. So what we can do in hypnosis is we can work to understand, well, what is going on in my life right now? And this is the response that I'm having. Okay. So it could be that you find yourself in an environment where you have, let's say you have a boss who will, hopefully not, but will yell at you anytime that they feel that you've done something wrong. And maybe that reminds you of when you were a child and your mother would yell at you anytime that you did something wrong. That's not particularly helpful for you to go into your childhood stress response while you're at work, because then you don't want to be in the office. You're handling everything from this stressful place, probably making mistakes, being flustered, rather than being able to move forward in a calm, collected manner. So working with a hypnotherapist, you could go in and say, hey, this is what's happening in my life. And they might ask you, what would be a more useful response? What would really help you to do your job well, to enjoy your work? And you could say, I want to feel confident. I want to feel calm and confident in those moments when I would have felt stress in the past. And so what you would do is you go down into hypnosis with your therapist, and you would work with your subconscious mind to reprogram that, knowing that your stress response is still very useful in certain situations, right? There's a reason that we have that ingrained in us. But to understand, help your subconscious to understand that in these particular situations, that response is no longer helpful or useful. Okay, so we speak with the subconscious mind and get it to understand that when I'm at work and my boss yells at me, rather than getting stressed, what would really help me in my life right now would be if I could just face that with calm confidence and move forward, trusting myself and my own ability to make things right. And so when someone comes out of hypnosis, they have then reprogrammed their mind to have a much more empowered or powerful response to that, rather than putting them in a state that's not helping them at all. We can do the same with sleep, right? We can tell the subconscious mind that waking up at 3 a.m. with an anxiety attack isn't actually serving us, right? We need sleep in order to get through our stressful days, in order to function and to have the energy for our busy lives. And so you can teach the subconscious to trust in its own ability to solve problems in real time, rather than using those sleeping hours to try to solve those problems. Now, to talk a little bit about pain management, this is also a really big one. As we see more and more, there are all these autoimmune diseases that people are struggling with these days. There's so much that we've learned about the body and modern medicine, and yet there's so much that we still don't understand about the mind-body connection. And I think more and more these days, we're learning that a lot of these ailments that we have come to think of as physical ailments also have a psychological component to them. And so often people go to all these doctors and they go through all these treatments for certain things, right? Like IBS or Crohn's disease is a big one. As I mentioned, autoimmune diseases. And people feel like, I've done everything. I've seen every specialist. I've tried every medication and nothing has worked for me. And when someone gets to that point, hypnotherapy can be such a powerful next step for them. Because if you've looked at every possible physical cause for something and you're not finding answers, then really there's a very good chance that the solution lies in your own mind. We don't really like to believe this, but our minds, there's these what we call secondary gains often for the problems that we have in our life, right? If you don't have what you want in your life right now, there's definitely a benefit that you're getting from not having that thing. And it could be that you have a fear of something. And so your mind is keeping your body from being able to do that thing. Or it could be that you don't know how to deal with stress in a healthy way and process those emotions. And so you're storing that stress in your body and it's causing irritation or illness. And so with hypnotherapy, we can dig into that more and start to understand what might be the psychological root cause of whatever it is that you're experiencing. And then we can work together to process that in healthy ways so that you're no longer carrying that pain or disease in your body, but you're actually able to release that in a healthy way.
I love that. And I 100% agree with you. I'm of the school of thought that everything starts in the mind and then it trickles down into your physical. So, yeah, I would venture to say that a lot of what people are experiencing are just dealt with parts of themselves that they haven't integrated or dissolved into oneness.
Absolutely.
I had a question about how, so, there's for anything to work, a release needs to happen, right? Plant medicine, there's a process and you let go of all the negativity or like the trauma or anything like that happens throughout the process. Where does that happen with hypnosis? Because in order to install anything new, you have to have a fresh slate, right? Or a clean slate. So how does that work? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so this goes back to what I was just talking about, for instance, with the secondary gains, right? We often know at a conscious level what we want, and we can feel very determined at a conscious level that we want that thing, right? Maybe it's weight loss, for instance, that you want to lose 5 pounds and that you want to lose that 5 pounds so that you'll look better, so that you'll be healthier, so that you'll be able to do the things that you want in your life. But there could be something within you that isn't willing to let go of, let's say it's the comfort that you get from overeating. You've learned at some point in your life that if I'm stressed, I find comfort in food, right? So when we work in hypnosis, before we even go down into a trance state, we're going to work together to really understand what is it that's causing you to overeat, or what is it that is keeping you from being able to lose this weight, right? What is it that has created this problem in your life to begin with? And in having that understanding at a conscious level before you go down into a trance state, you've already got the buy-in from your conscious mind, and you've started to create that buy-in with the subconscious as well. Now, sometimes when we go into hypnosis and we speak with the subconscious, we might find that whatever we're trying to work on and change isn't working and isn't changing. And so in that state, you can speak directly to the subconscious and ask, is there resistance to this? Do you want to change? And sometimes you'll find that people's subconscious will actually say, no, I don't want to change. And so in that moment, we can speak with the subconscious and ask, is this in Gabriella's highest interest? Do you want to serve Gabriella's highest interest in this moment? And then help the subconscious to understand that we can let go of what might have felt safe or comfortable or felt like it was serving us in the past, and come up with a way to serve your future goals and your future needs. And oftentimes we will leave it up to the subconscious mind to determine the best way to do that. So it's not just me coming in and saying, you're going to do that by eating less at every meal and going to the gym 5 times a week or whatever. But I might ask your subconscious mind, what changes can you make in your programming that will allow Gabriella to have this result, knowing that she desires to feel better in her body, to be able to go on long hikes without feeling winded, to live to a old age, healthy and happy, to spend time with her family and her loved ones, right? And so we're basically just communicating with the subconscious and empowering it to help you work towards your own goals.
Thank you. Yes, that's clear. That's much clearer. So share with us, how does the higher self or inner wisdom connect with the subconscious, or how do they work together? You have the conscious mind, you have the subconscious mind, and then you have the higher self or inner wisdom, whatever you want to call it. How do they all work together from your perspective?
That's a great question. So I think what's really fascinating, and we don't necessarily have all the answers to this, but people have been working with different types of hypnosis and different ways of speaking to the different aspects of the being for years and years now, and figuring out what works and what doesn't work as far as how that goes. One form of hypnosis is called parts integration or parts work. And when we do parts work, you're actually bringing in different parts of the subconscious mind, different aspects of the person, of their being. And so you might bring in the part of someone that has created whatever pattern or strategy they're currently using that isn't working for them. And you might also bring in that person's higher power or their greater good, or whatever you want to call that higher aspect of themselves as well. I don't know that's necessarily separate from the subconscious. I believe that it may be a part of the subconscious mind. We know that the subconscious mind makes up potentially 95 to 98% of our mind, whereas the conscious mind is only like 2 to 5% of our mind. So our subconscious is vast and it's varied, and it plays this incredible role in our lives. But there are these different parts of it that we can bring in and speak directly to in order to help people to work on things. So when I'm working with someone, I will almost always bring in their higher power or their highest good, knowing that any work that we're doing, I don't want to install any programs that aren't beneficial to someone. And who better to know and safeguard what is in your highest good but your highest self. So we'll always bring that part of you in and ask for it to make any necessary adjustments, to approve any work that we're doing before we take you out of hypnosis. Did that answer your question?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, they definitely work hand in hand. And yeah, I love that you make sure to incorporate it. It's wonderful. So in terms of when you work with people to achieve a certain goal or desire, and how in terms of manifestation, like what does that look like, and how do you support your clients in making sure that they are manifesting those desires? You said that you bring in the higher self, and that's the best person or the best entity being, right, to safeguard that individual. What are some other things that you do or that you see work as being successful in that process?
Yeah, manifestation is such an interesting topic because there's so many people out there who are teaching manifestation techniques right now, and some of them might work for some people or they might not. And excuse me, I think hypnosis is particularly effective in helping with manifestation because For instance, like one manifestation technique might be to create a vision board and to have your daily mantras. And we're using positive self-talk and visualization to focus the mind and all of your being on this thing that you want to achieve. And that's great. And that's a great place to start. But really, oftentimes, what's keeping you from having what you want in your life right now, it's this part there's this part of you that doesn't actually want it. First of all, again, going back to those secondary gains, right? You're getting some benefit from not having the thing that you say that you want at a subconscious level often. And we have these deeply ingrained limiting beliefs or fears that keep us small, that keep us from moving forward towards what we want. And so when we're working directly on those things, you're opening up these doors, right? So you're working at a subconscious level to say, this fear has maybe kept me safe in the past, but it's no longer serving me. And this is really what I want for my future. So if I can eliminate this fear from my life, then I can have that thing. If I can understand at a subconscious level that this is actually what's going to keep me safe and allow me to survive and thrive in the future, then I need to reprogram what I've always thought was creating safety for me. And you can achieve that sometimes in one session with the client. Sometimes it might take multiple sessions, depending on how deeply ingrained it is for them, depending on how much resistance they have within themselves, within their subconscious mind, depending on how strong their conscious mind might be in skepticism or fear, whatever that might be. And when working with clients, there's almost always an element of continued homework or even self-hypnosis that I will teach so that people can continue to do that work and reinforce that going forward, right? Because the reality is, for some people, they might do one session of hypnotherapy and be forever changed. But for the most part, our brains are always evolving and changing based on what we experience in the world around us. And so you might sometimes need to go back and revisit and continue to do that work in order to continue to reinforce the good work that you've already done.
Yes, I believe that anything is like building a habit, right? So if, let's say I'm coaching with someone, if I have a client, there could definitely be transformation within the first couple of sessions. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. And in order to instill the new habits that you're looking to achieve and to support the client to achieve their goals, there definitely needs to be repetition and not necessarily just focus, like positive focus and action that needs to be taken towards that goal. And by having time with a coach, you are also not only like reinforcing and telling your subconscious mind, hey, I'm doing the work, I want to be here, I want to do all these things, but also creating a pattern, a positive pattern. So I think that is absolutely needed. And I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mentioned self-hypnosis, and people might ask, what does that mean?
Yeah,
Right?
tell us.
The simplest form of that is what I already mentioned, which is positive self-talk. Repeating mantras, for instance. The reason why repeating mantras works is because it's self-hypnosis. We are most suggestible to ourselves. And whatever we're telling ourselves on a daily basis is what we believe and what we enforce for ourselves. If you're walking through the world with a lot of negative self-talk or a very negative outlook, you're creating that reality. You're telling your subconscious mind that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, that don't deserve to be successful, whatever it might be. And so you create that reality because that's the inner world that you're reinforcing. But simple things like changing the way that you talk to yourself, changing the way that your inner voice speaks to you when something doesn't go the way that you want it to is so powerful. And showing up each day and showing gratitude, or taking a moment for gratitude for the things that you have in your life, journaling about what went right for you or what you're proud of, or like you said, reinforcing the good work that you're doing in coaching or therapy or whatever it might be. This helps us to shape a much brighter world and a much brighter future for ourselves and a much more loving environment for ourselves. And when we create that internally, we project that outward as well. And so our interactions with everyone around us completely change, right? If you don't think of yourself as someone who is successful, then people won't necessarily see you as someone who's successful. But when you project that out into the world, whether it's technically true or not, depending on how you're measuring success in that moment, if you see it that way, people will see that in you and they will respond in kind, and you will create more of that success for yourself through that reflection. We're all just mirrors for each other, right?
Yes, absolutely. We really are. And I celebrate when I get triggered, because that means that that trigger signals that I'm ready to release and let go of whatever limiting belief I was holding.
Absolutely. One of my mentors, he says that triggers are love in disguise.
Yes, I would agree with that. Tell us, what should we expect during a hypnosis session? And are there any other myths that you want to bring forth that people may have the wrong idea about a hypnosis session and what that looks like?
So I would say that it's best not to go into a session with any expectation, just to be open to whatever might arise and whatever might happen. Typically, there will be a conversation, there should be a conversation about what hypnosis is, and an opportunity for you to share any fears or questions that you might have. But you'll probably start out just having a conversation, and then you'll be asked what you want to work on. And then from there, the therapist that you're working with should dig more into that. So that can feel a little bit more like a coaching or a traditional talk therapy session for a bit, as they really try to dig deeper and understand what's happening, right? It's not just the symptoms, which is typically what a client comes in with, right? These are my symptoms. And then a therapist will help to get at what is underlying that, what is deeper than that. And so once they have gotten to a place where they feel that they understand the deeper underlying causes of these symptoms, then usually, not always, you can go into hypnotherapy seated, but oftentimes they'll invite you to lay down and close your eyes, and then just go into a state of relaxation. There are many different ways to go into hypnosis. If you've been in a yoga class and during Shavasana, let's say the instructor is doing a progressive relaxation where they're telling you to relax the top of your head, relax your face, bring that down into your shoulders. That's a very common way to take someone into hypnosis. So maybe you didn't know that your yoga instructor was hypnotizing you. And often after that, they'll say all these nice, beautiful, lovey things to you that make you walk out of there feeling like you're walking on clouds and you're in this buzz state. And that is hypnotherapy right there. But yes, I would say many people have the idea that they won't remember what happens in hypnosis. And that's simply not true. People are conscious throughout the experience. People can talk in hypnosis. Sometimes they'll respond with what we call ideomotor responses. So you might set it up where there's like a signal from your body that indicates a yes. It might be the movement of a finger or the nod of the head. There's also a signal for no. But you will be fully conscious during the session. If at any point, let's say your hypnotherapist is okay, and now you're going to transfer me $500. Your subconscious or your conscious mind will immediately kick in and be like, wait a second, nope, we're not doing that. What is happening? So yeah, I would say you can expect to feel very relaxed. You might notice that your body is doing things without your conscious effort, which can be quite cool and fascinating. And if that happens, just know that is your subconscious mind speaking through you and responding through you. But every session will be different. And that'll depend a lot on what you're working on and the techniques that the practitioner is using. But usually I would say people leave with what I like to call the hypno high. Like just walking out of a good session, feeling warm and tingly and like you're walking on clouds. It's an incredible feeling and something that I think everyone should experience at some point in their life because it's really empowering and beautiful.
Awesome. That sounds awesome. You just triggered a childhood memory for me. When my dad would put us to bed, we would get a story. I would get a story. And then he would go through now relax your head and your ears and your face. Like he would go all the way down to your toes and name everything. So I was like, so I just realized now that my dad wasn't really putting us to bed. He was hypnotizing us into sleeping. Probably quicker.
Yes, he was.
It was probably quicker for him to just get back to whatever he was doing. Or maybe he didn't know. I don't know. I guess one final question for you would be like, what sets you apart from other hypnotists? Is there some sort of style that you use that is more effective than other styles, or is it a combo, or is it your vibe? What sets you apart?
Sure. No, that's a great question. So I completed my training at the Black Lotus Academy, which is a school for hypnotherapists in San Marcos, La Laguna, Guatemala. It was a 12-month intensive training where I was living on campus and studying amongst a very small group. There were 7 of us enrolled in the program, and we were living there and studying there together 6 days a week. And so as we were learning therapeutic techniques, we were practicing them on each other. We were living in an environment that was designed to push us to our comfort limits, beyond our comfort zone, basically, but also provide the support that we needed to deal with whatever triggers or unprocessed emotions came up from that. And so it was a great environment in which to learn and actually put into practice everything that we were learning. We learned direct and indirect hypnosis, Capucinian hypnosis. We also just learned bits and pieces of other schools of thought for hypnotherapy. So I feel like it was a very well-rounded education designed to really help us to meet any client where they are and know what would be most effective for them. And then in conjunction with that, we were also learning NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and EFT tapping. And I have this arsenal, this tool belt, different techniques that I can use with clients, often together, right? Like a lot of NLP techniques can be used in hypnosis, which makes them even more effective. And then beyond that, I have a certification as a wellbeing coach, which is a holistic approach to coaching that believes in looking at body, mind, and spirit or soul. So helping people to find greater joy and satisfaction in their lives, not by just looking at one aspect of their being, but by bringing all 3 aspects of their being into greater alignment. And I've been doing this work for over 3 years now. So I've worked with clients to really shed the societal conditioning that was ingrained in them throughout their lives and uncover their true self beneath that, to craft the life that they want and not just the life that society has forced upon them or told them that they should want. And I would say if you're looking to make major changes in your life, if you have gotten to a point where you realize that there's something that you want and you don't want to be on your deathbed regretting that you never pursued that thing, then I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you get to a place where you can release those fears and those limiting beliefs and uncover your true self and your true purpose within, and find the courage to move towards that life that really calls to you.
This all sounds super amazing. I sign me up. I'm sold. I'd be willing to give it another try for sure.
I would love to do a session with you, Cindy, and have you have that experience.
I would love that too. I'm super open to it. I just got to find the right person. It sounds like you might be that. I thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about all of this. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media or in your website.
Yep, absolutely. So you can find me on the web at livewellwithlaurel.com. And I'm also on Instagram at _love.laurel. And you can find me on Facebook as well. My name there is Laurel Van Comb. That is quite a mouthful, but you can find my full name written out in the show notes, or just navigate to my website where you can set up a free consultation to see if hypnotherapy or coaching is good for you, if we're a good fit together. And as Gabriella mentioned at the start, if you'd like to work with me, you can schedule that free consultation on my website and then just mention the Uncensored Journey podcast for 50% off your first session.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that offer. And thank you everybody for joining us this week. Please can subscribe on all platforms, and you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Uncensored Journey. You can find me at The Worth Warrior, and you can find Gabriella at Phoenix Medicine. Until next week. Bye.